Hey, really quickly, I just wanted to preface this video by giving you a free piece of advice. If you're coming to the point where you're cutting logs that nothing's going the way you want, and you're not sure if it's the band or if you should start doing weird alignments or anything like that, when things are good, if you have a band you put on and it cuts really, really good and you run it for about 10-15 minutes and it's cutting great, take the band off, coil it up, put it away, and don't touch that one until next time when you're in a situation where you're getting wavy boards or horrible cuts. Grab that other band and put it on, and if it cuts good, then you'll know you had a blade issue, and it'll save you from starting to turn wrenches and kind of eliminate half your battle. Anyways, let's carry on. Hey, today we're going to make a quick video on one of the many possibilities as to why blades don't cut straight. And there's a million reasons why this can happen, but over the next little while I'm going to make a bunch of videos on the most common reasons and try and get this to the point where it can be easily resolved. This is one that a lot of people miss. Normal bandsaw goes through, and as it's sawing, this front edge of the saw, just from friction cutting in the saw, this front edge here will work up to about 450 degrees, and then it heats and cools and heats and cools. And what will happen is the saw will no longer be flat, it'll actually be dished. And this is a precision straight edge here that's meant for doing radiuses, but this edge here is ground flat. And if you can see here, see how this saw is not even remotely flat? It's from here over, the saw is pulled down, and it's a condition known as turnover. But as you can see here, there's light passing through, and it's only making contact in the center of the saw. So your guide rollers, or if you're running friction guides or whatever else, the saw becomes very tender because it's only sitting on this one spot of contact. So as it goes through, your guide roller is nice and flat, but the saw is actually turned over. So what we have the ability to do here is go right in the center. You pick the highest point of the apex here, which is right in the center. What I'm going to do is use the stretcher rolls, which are basically like an English wheel, if you know what that is, for shaping steel. These wheels are not actually flat, they're dished, or they're round, for lack of a better term. They're very minutely round, just a couple of thou. And what we'll do is we'll take the center of the saw and run it over this very expensive high-tech piece of machinery here, and the action of it going over and pushing in the center of it's going to flatten it. So we'll set it up and then we'll pick up from there. You can see we've got the center, the highest point marked right here, and the start-stop mark, so as it gets pulled through, we'll be able to push the center through. So what we'll do is just put transport weight with the wheels, run it forward a little bit to track where it wants to, and pretty much looks good right there. So what we're going to do is apply a healthy amount of tension to this. The maximum clamping force on this is about 10 tons when you really torque on it, so we're not going to be anywhere near that. But now that we've got the saw where we want it to be, we'll put this bowline under here on the saw forward, and the action of it going over the pry bar and the amount of pressure that's going to be applied to the center, it will push the center through and get you back to a level saw. So we'll run this through. Just guide it along so that it doesn't want to wander, but it's usually pretty good. Wait for it to come around, it takes a minute. Now, we'll bring this back. This may take a few, this one was pretty bad actually. We'll put the light back in front. And it's better, let's take the phone out and get it down here so you can have a better view. You can see where we rolled, and you can see a little bit of light passing through the center, but we're still high right up here. So, and we're going to probably have to do another one back here, so we'll pause and get this set up again. So we've moved it over. We're going to give this one more pass to the front and probably have to come back and do it again. So we'll roll through, and then I'll show you when we're stopped again. Okay, so we've made our second roll, and you can see now we're starting to get pretty flat. See, we can just, if you rock it forward a little bit, there's a tiny bit of light in the center, which in turn is going to give you now 2 points of contact on your guide roller to give it stability. Now we need to do one more roll. You can see right here, see how there's still a little bit left in the back edge? We're going to give another roll right on this spot and then we'll check it again. So this was a pretty bad example of a saw that was turned over. They're not always like that, but the moral of the story is you can have your mill set up as good as you want, as best as it can be, and it's never going to cut straight. The second you try and push it, it's going to be tender and the blade's just going to want to do this and you'll be cutting lasagna noodles all day long. So now when you look, you see I'm exaggerating this by rolling the gauge over. Normally you would check it flat, but now you can see there's no light passing through underneath, just a very, very small amount. I mean, from what it looked like before, now it's going to maintain 2 points of contact on the guide rollers or your friction guides, whatever it may be, and it's going to carry itself through the log, and you should theoretically be able to do this. Now, anybody who knows anything about bench work knows that the back edge of the saw is always longer than the front. That's why when you break a band and you lay it on the ground, you'll see that it's longer on the back side. It almost has a curved shape to it. That also is for the front edge heating up and expanding. The back keeps it from popping off of the blade wheels themselves. That's something else. So anybody that knows when you start rolling in here, you can manipulate that. That's why I always start in the center. Usually on a turned over saw, that fixes it. You start rolling in the front, that makes the saw negative, and it will be a reverse shape to what it needs to be to stay on the wheel. So that goes center, front, and then back. When I roll on the back edge of the saw, that makes it a tiny bit longer, and then that's usually what gives it the clamping force to stay on the wheel. Anyways, hope this gives you an idea, something to look for. Whoever's sharpening your saws, maybe mention it to them. Say, and if you want to know yourself, just set up the band in a situation where you can get it on a bench or do it much like this here on your workbench, whatever you want. Grab yourself a straight edge and put it on, and if it looks like it did at the beginning of the video, that's your problem. At least one of many that it could be, but we'll do another few videos on alignment, things of that nature that can avoid you cutting wonky boards and keep everyone happy. Thanks for watching. Go get him, Henry. Go get him. Oh, you're a good boy. Go get him, Henry. You go get those guys. Go get him.